Welcome everyone to another edition of Prep Previews. My name is Brent St. Germain, I'm your sports editor. As you can see, we got a full house today because it's the first week of the Prep playoffs, and it looks like we're going to have ourselves another interesting week this week with 8 teams qualifying for the playoffs, 7 games locally. Guys, looks like we got a real good week coming up. High school football. What's on tap for Friday night?
Well, the first thing we got to talk about obviously is 8 of our 11 teams that we covered made the playoffs. It's probably the most we've had maybe ever in our area in one season. That in itself is kind of amazing. It's just a credit to these coaches and kids in our area for getting together and making a playoff push.
And also what's impressive is that 5 of those teams came from 8-5-8. Usually that's district we get 2 or 3 teams, but this year 8-5-8 finally kind of got over the hump, and a lot of teams made the playoffs. South Terrible and Central Lafourche made it after missing last year. South Lafourche had that big turnaround. They won the district championship. Thibodeau and Terrebonne are back in again this year. And I guess the big highlight this week is the rematch, South and Central. 1 week ago, those 2 teams played. Teddy, you were out that game.
Very good first half by both teams. Each team only had a couple of possessions. They really moved the ball on each other. South Lafourche had a 7-3 lead. South Lafourche made some adjustments to Central's triple option offense and really shut them down, allowing no first downs in the second half and scoring 2 touchdowns and winning 21-3. And, because of this power rating system that we've gone, rematches has happened. We haven't had rematches because we haven't had a number of teams in the playoffs. I know it's unfortunate that we have 2 local teams playing each other because that means one's going to lose, but it's also fortunate because it means one's going to win, and we're going to have a game next week. But, I kind of see the same in this game. I don't, you're going to have some adjustments made. I think you're going to have a little bit of tweaking here and there. You're going to have some different game plans, but I really think you're going to see 2 very good defenses like they were last week. Slug it out. It's going to be Central's running game against South Lafourche's running game. I think the Trojans showed a little bit of passing game, which was a very bit of a surprise for a lot of people, and they may need it again this week, as South Lafourche's defense has been very stout, and it came again last week. But it's going to be interesting to see how these coaches, Chad Collier at Central, Terry Form at South Lafourche, change maybe their game plans a little bit, do some little adjustments, see what happens, and it should be another overflow crowd and fantastic atmosphere.
And those are 2 of the biggest rivalries in the area. I know Teddy and Matt last week in the prep previews made a mention to that it was how big this rivalry is. Trojans, Tarpons don't like one another. And don't worry, people, Matt's not here. He's on assignment.
I knocked him out. But anyway, that's the highlight of this week. But, it's not that 8-5-8 is barren for other games. You're looking at the next matchup, which puts number 9 Barb against South Terrebonne on the road in Lake Charles. And y'all follow the Gators a lot, Chris, this year. What you think about that matchup?
Well, first of all, I think, looking at South Terrebonne the last couple of weeks and all season long, they've dealt with a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of problems, and offensively, it took them a while to get going after, replacing a lot of key starters from last year and getting some new guys on there, especially in the offensive backfield and on the offensive line. And one thing about South Terrebonne is, that coaching staff, with Coach Curlin, they're very experienced. They've been through this before. But the players, it should be interesting to see if they can, step it up now. All season long, it seemed like South Terrebonne 1 week, they played great. They beat Central Lafourche and Thibodeau in 2 straight weeks, and then they lose the next 2 games in district play. So it's been a roller coaster year for South Terrebonne, and if they can get going offense, the defense is going to play competitive. Defense has been a strong point for South Terrebonne all year. So if their offense can get some things going, they have a chance to go against a good team.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Curlin this morning. I think the number one concern he has is the speed of Barb. They're a very fast team. They have 5 or 6 guys who committed to play ball at the next level. So, how South Terrebonne can kind of handle that speed is something they have to deal with a lot, some of the time, especially when you get to this point in the playoffs. But, it should be interesting. A good game out in Lake Charles.
Yeah, one thing you got to remember about South Terrebonne is they're known to be an underdog that can go on the road and win the playoffs. Remember 2005, they went up there, it was around a 23-24 seed, went up to Baton Rouge, played Woodlawn, knocked off Woodlawn. So they know what it takes to be there, to go on the road and win in the playoffs. They've done it before. Speaking of another road team, one team going on the road this week from 8-5-8, a very dangerous, I repeat, very dangerous road team, Thibodeau High. Trevon Reed is back healthy. He's supposed to make his commitment announcement on Friday. We don't know where, but he's supposed to make an announcement. Trevon Reed makes Thibodeau dangerous. They know what it takes to win the playoffs. They got away to the quarterfinals last year. An unfortunate injury hurt them during the season. And guys, you're looking at a team that, St. Thomas More is a good program, but I don't think St. Thomas More wants to play Thibodeau right now.
No, I'll go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I don't think anybody in the state wanted to see Thibodeau with Trevon back in the first round. I mean, it's going to be exciting for him to see what he can do in the playoffs. But like you said, Brent, that's a very proud program they have at St. Thomas More, and it should be maybe one of the better first round games in the state.
One thing overlooked about Thibodeau is their defense this year. Thibodeau's defense was a bunch of no-name kids, a bunch of underclassmen. I think 7 of them are underclassmen. These guys have been tough all year long. They've been hard to run against. And you're right, Trevon is an equalizer to the nth degree. He avoids pass rushes. He's able to keep plays alive. And he's able to just get out of jams and run with the ball. And it didn't look like his knee was in too bad a shape last week against St. Aug. So, it's a team, like you said, Brent. I don't think they would, St. Thomas More was thrilled when they saw that. And we got one more 5A game bracket, which is on your side. Team that just snuck in the Terrebonne Tigers.
Yeah, a little surprising. We thought at the beginning of the year that Terrebonne, would have no problem making the playoffs, but they've been kind of up and down, like South Terrebonne. They've been they played really well at times, looked unstoppable at times on offense, and they've kind of sputtered at other times. But it's like Coach Hill said after the H.L. Bourgeois win last week. Everybody's 0-0 right now. They kind of get to start over again. If they can get that offense going, they could possibly give Acadian a game.
I say a big thing with Terrebonne this year, like you mentioned, is inconsistency. They have a lot of talent on that offense, very explosive, and when they got everything clicking on all cylinders, they can pretty much contend with everybody in our area. I think everybody here would agree with that. For Terrebonne to win this game, they're going to have to come out from the beginning, first quarter, get something going offensively, get some rhythm going. I know it's going to be tough. But I feel like Terrebonne, if they can get some things going early, there's a good chance that they can make a lot of noise in this game.
Yeah, Acadian, you got to remember, is one of the premier teams in 5A. I mean, you're looking at a team that knows what it takes to get to the Dome. So I mean, this could be a tough challenge. Terrebonne's, got some veteran players who played in the playoffs last year, some young players. This could be setting up for, if they don't do it this year, they've got enough talent to come back next year and maybe possibly be a team that can make a run. In Class 4A, we have one playoff team, Vanderbilt Catholic. Vanderbilt got in, they're number 20 seed, they're traveling to the Lake Charles area to play Sam Houston. I think Vanderbilt is another road team that is scary. They have the potential to pull off the win. I mean, you look at the teams that Vanderbilt's played this year. I mean, they played Edie White, they beat Edie White, but that was a forfeit win. They lost to South Lafourche. They're in the playoffs. They lost to Lutcher. They're in the playoffs. They lost to Hanville. They're in the playoffs. They lost to St. Charles Catholic. They're in the playoffs. And all those teams are some of the top teams in their respective classes. So Vanderbilt's played a tough schedule, but I mean they got the potential that they can pull off the upset. The biggest thing you always got to be concerned about is that's a far trip to be traveling to, this week.
And like you mentioned, Vanderbilt's very battle tested. I talked to Coach DuPont and all those great coaches they have over there all year long, and the one thing they say about this team is that they are mentally tough. They've been through so many challenges, like you mentioned, with the forfeit wins and injuries at the beginning of the year. But the main thing about Vanderbilt is their defense, and their defense has really, been able to run the ship this year.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, you mentioned Vanderbilt. It seems like the only time they get themselves in trouble this year is when they get themselves in trouble. When they fumble the ball, when they don't take care of the football, when they make penalties.
I think this is a winnable game for Vanderbilt if they can come out and get things going on offense.
Right, and then finally in Class 3A, we have two teams in the playoffs. We have the Edie White Catholic Cardinals and the St. James Wildcats. Edie White, great season, 9-1 district champions, going into the playoffs as the number 3 seed. I mean, they've been just motoring along. They got a good shot. They can make a little run here to at least the quarterfinals.
If it wouldn't be for the complete turnaround at the South Lafourche program, I think Edie White would be our top story going into the playoffs, and it's still a very big story. Nobody expected this team to be 9-1. Nobody expected this team to be the 3rd seed coming out into the playoffs. They got back to what Edie White football is traditionally known for, running the football. Their defense has always been consistent. Cohen, we're not going to disrespect Cohen, but I don't expect Edie White to lose to this team. I would think Edie White would easily handle this team with the way they've been able to play.
I was going to tell you, Cohen's a team that played a junior varsity schedule last year, still trying to recover from the Hurricanes. Got into the playoffs on a touchdown pass with 18 seconds left against McMain last week. So, you would think Edie White can probably take care of business in that first-round game and move on to the regionals.
And one thing to think about Edie White, this team, probably everybody expected next year to be the team that did this. They're a year ahead of schedule, so it shows what next year this team could be even better. And finally in 3A, we have St. James They won shared their district championship with Bruley, and guess what they're playing this week? Bruley, another rematch. St. James beat them the first time. The thing about St. James is it shows you play a tough schedule, you could be rewarded for it. Every team they played this season made the playoffs. Every non-district team they played has a home game this week. I mean, they played a murderer's row schedule. St. James has to go back to Bruley, beat them before this year, and shut them out 26-0. So St. James is probably has confidence in this game, knowing, hey, we competed with this team, we can beat this team.
And one thing I talked to Coach Gailey earlier this week, one thing he mentioned was not getting too overconfident. Treat this like a regular football game. I think St. James has a good chance to go into Bruley and advance in the 3A playoffs.
And Bruley is a good team. I mean, that's the team. Edie White's lone loss this season was to Bruley.
And they also beat South Terrebonne this year, Bruley. So they played up competition. They played good competition. Familiarity might breed content for them, which is what Coach Gailey is probably trying to hide from them.
And that's also something Salafush is preaching too. You're just playing a team the week before. You don't want that to hurt you again, being familiar with an opponent, to get overconfident. But, I mean, looking at the brackets, looking at all the teams in there, we've got an exciting first round of the playoffs. I mean, considering last year we had only a handful of teams, this year we have most of our teams in the playoffs. I mean, if you're a high school football fan, you got to be pleased. You got a lot of teams in there. We got teams that have potential to make good runs in the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe 5 weeks from now, we'll be talking to you from the Superdome saying, so-and-so's playing for a state championship. I mean, that's a possibility. We'll see what happens.